Hey everyone, this is Corey with Casual EDC, and today I'm bringing you my full review on the Serge Production EDC. I'm going to start off with some size comparisons, and I'll read off some specs for you. So we're going to bring in the Benchmade Bug Out, as well as the 84mm Victorinox Cadet. And looking at these two lined up, you can see that it is not a very large knife, just being slightly longer overall than the Bug Out. But it certainly is a big knife, and we will get to that here in just a second, because you're looking at an overall length of 7.5 inches, close length of 4.45 inches, blade length of 3.15 inches, blade stock thickness of 0.18, excuse me, 0.18 would be absurdly thick for a folder. And then the biggest thing, 5.36 ounces on this guy. This is a complete titanium liner lock with titanium scales. There's no skeletonization or any lightning pockets inside of this knife at all. So you have just slabs of titanium with stainless steel hardware and spacers, and that makes it heavy. It's pretty crazy. The liners are 0.08 inches thick. And to put that into perspective, 0.08 inches is just slightly thinner than the blade stock of the TRM Neutron and the TRM Atom. So if I shut this and then put these two side by side, sorry, I kind of have to do this off center so I can see, that you can see, but I hope you can see the line between liner and scale, and then see the thickness of the TRM blade. These are some thick liners. You don't see that a lot on knives nowadays. It's something that older knives used to be built tankier like that, something that you might expect to see from like Cold Steel, real thick liners, but Serge decided to go with the thick liners on this. As I said, this is a production version. This is made by Real Steel, so it is Chinese manufactured for Serge. Serge Panchenko, by the way, is the designer of the Bean, which is a very popular design. So you may have heard that name before. Also was the designer of the Boker Lancer, as well as some other models that are slipping my mind, but those are just the ones I can think of off the top of my head. So as I said, made by Real Steel, so this is a Chinese-made version of his custom production, his custom EDC is what he calls this model. Opening hole, so a bit of a like peanut hole, not quite a spidey hole, it's more ovular. Works good for thumb flicking, works good for middle flicking. Not really any issues on deployment on this guy. The detent was pretty good. It kind of got better as it broke in. It was a little bit light at first, but after a good cleaning, it did end up breaking in nicely. I think there's just some gunk in the detent hole from when I got it. This knife, comfortable in hand. The ergos aren't the best, but they also don't really bother me in any way. The cutout, this strange kind of like stepped pattern, opposed to just carving a nice contoured area to get to the thumb hole. You can feel it a little bit sometimes. I get these edges in my middle finger when I wrap around like this, and I can feel it, but it's not too bad. It's just it's a little noticeable. And the pocket clip with just hand positioning gets me just a little bit down in here, but nothing too major. Never really was a bother in use, just something that I can kind of notice in hand. Moving on to use, I put this through a lot of cardboard. I cut some sticks with it, did some, just carving of sticks, not whittling or anything, just honking away at chunks of like sticks, some soft pine that we had in the fireplace. Recently, something I've been doing with basically every knife I get in is making feather sticks. This worked all right. It's pretty thick behind the edge is the biggest thing that you will notice with this knife. I know the focus is not going to do it any good here, but it's a flat grind. I can double check that too, if it's even listed here. sorry, I'm looking at Serge's site. It does not say what the grind is, but it looks to me like a flat grind. I'm not seeing any dishing in this grind, so it's a flat grind that makes its way, about halfway up the blade's width, maybe slightly more, maybe 55% of the way. So it never really comes down to that acute of an edge. You can feel running your fingers down it like this that there's a lot of blade between your fingers, even with this edge having been sharpened. I did take this on the KME to try and touch it up a little bit, and it really didn't make much of an improvement despite having a nice, clean, semi-polished edge. So that's a little bit unfortunate. I think that's kind of what comes with this design, though. This knife being as heavy as it is and built the way that it is, it's not meant to be a dainty slicer EDC. It's meant to handle kind of whatever you throw at it. So in terms of being able to do that, I think it's built for that, and it's got a good enough grind to cut. It never had issues. It just didn't perform the way that I like my knives to perform. So it'll certainly cut. It certainly will do what you need it to do. It's just thick, and that is just the reality of this knife. See, I missed the flip there, so just got to be careful how you engage this hole. Not enough engagement. It's very easy to slip off because these edges are nice and rounded from the stone washing that they did on this blade. It's a pretty heavy stone wash. It's very uniform without many big marks or anything, but enough that it really rounds that hole off. So you make sure you have to have good contact with the edges to get that deployed. Overall, this is an interesting knife. The thing that really gets me about this knife is that it was $200, and some people might say, okay, yeah, $200 for titanium liners, titanium scales, and blade, a Serge design. Sure, why not? It's N690. It's a budget steel. It's something that really isn't impressive. If they would have gone with S30V or S35VN, it would have been a better choice. Instead, you're stuck with a kind of inferior, I believe N690 is an Italian steel, just like M390 is. Or sorry, M390 is not Italian. Ignore me. I believe that M390 also comes from Germany. Bowler being a German company. So N690 is, though, a stainless that is well below what you'd expect to see now on a $200 knife. Every knife that's coming out in the $200 range seems to have at least S30V, sometimes 20CV, S45. This just kind of was behind the ball. I don't know why the choice was made to go with N690 and then to price this so high at $200. There's supposed to be more versions of this coming out, and I hope they are cheaper. It says that the next 3 versions that'll be available of this are going to have blue anodized titanium scales, which I hope they don't change the price. If they do, I hope it's very minimal. OD green micarta scales, which would lighten this up a little bit. The liners are so damn thin, though. I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make. Might make it feel better in hand. And then black G10 is their other option. So it'll lighten it up a little bit from that 5.36 ounces, this pocket weight that's in your pocket. It'll lighten it up a little bit, but I don't know how much it's going to help given those super thick steel liners that it has. And I do hope that it drops the price, because titanium should be your most expensive option. And if you're going to anodize the titanium and charge a little bit extra, I mean a little bit, like $10-15, because you had to add that time to anodize the parts, sure, that'll work. That's fine. But if you're looking at $200 for an OD green version of this in micarta or black G10, I'm going to tell you to pass on it. Unless this design really speaks to you and you don't care about the thickness behind the edge and you just love the Serge designs and you need to have them all, go for it. Do your thing. I'm not going to stop you. But my suggestion to anyone who is on the fence about these is that if they don't drop the price to at least like $165 for the G10 version of this, $185 being like the top end I would pay for either the micarta version or the G10 version, I would skip on it. It's made by Real Steel. Real Steel has their own knives out there that are really well made and they slice better. And if the Serge design is not for you, Real Steel has plenty of options of their own. Keep in mind these are all going to be N690, so you're going to be paying a premium price for a not premium steel due to design and popularity. So keep that in mind if you're going to make a purchase regarding this in the future. The only way to get information on the newer drops is going to be from Serge's Instagram directly. So that's the only place I could find information anyway. So if you are interested, you're going to have to look there for information. I likely will not be picking up any more of these just because of the price, like I said. But this one is what I did purchase ahead of time for sharpened blade. So Mike, this one is going to be coming up to you in Canada as soon as we are ready to get squared up. I have some other stuff here that I do need to ship up to him. So I'm going to send one big package probably instead of a couple small packages, or maybe we'll send a few individual packages too. Hopefully get through customs, no issues, but we will see. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here before I ramble on. Interesting knife, interesting design, but the price and the materials and just the build in general with the thickness and the weight is what turns me off of it personally, but that might really fit somebody else's lifestyle. So if those things sound like they're up your alley, you can take a look on Serge's Instagram for more of these, or you can look on the secondary market. As I said, there were only 150 of these made. So keep that in mind. And yeah, I'm just going to wrap it up there, like I said, before I continue to ramble on. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and have a great rest of your day. Take care.